Welcome to Between the Lions, a podcast hosted by the Beaumaris Lions Club. This is the first in a three-part series we're doing about the ups and downs of change. And this morning, I'm very excited to have our very own District Governor, Graham Bryant, as our guest. Enjoy. Graham, welcome to Between the Lions. Today, we're talking about change and how clubs need to change to grow. So could you give us your view on the need to change?
Well, right now, 70% of our members are over 60 years of age and 50% are over 70 years age. And one of the things that I've been talking with the clubs during my visits is who's going to be sitting around the table serving the community in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and 20 years' time. And the reality is if we don't change, there'll be no one sitting around the table, very few sitting around the table. So we need to embrace change. We need to be having conversations at each club about what are we going to do. Activity drives change. Good activity drives good change. And that's what we need to be talking about, good activity. We don't have a membership magic wand. We have to, enact plans, talk about how we're going to encourage young men and women to join our clubs. Interestingly, one of the things that we've been talking about is that we want to bring young men and women in to serve along with us, and I think there's a give and take opportunity there, and I'll come back and talk about that. But we often expect people to come in and do what we want to do, and if we reflect back to when we were younger, would we want to come into a club and do what they do when we're obviously younger, different thinking, different mindset. So we have to think about how do we change to attract young men and women in. It's not about getting them in and expecting them to do what we do. It's a different world, different generation. We've got different needs and wants. And I think that's an aspect of change that we need to be having. And you know what? Some of our clubs where we're more mature, they may not attract younger members. So maybe the conversation has to be within the clubs. Maybe we need to start up a club branch and bring younger men and women in to work in parallel with our club, but let them choose when they want to meet. Let them choose the media that they want to meet through, either face-to-face or hybrid or, completely online, and just get together for projects. And we need to be thinking outside what I call that normal Lions square. If we really want to change, we've got to adapt, and we've got to think through the minds of younger people and have conversations with them to say, well, what can we offer you? What's going to be in it for you to serve?
No, our club's really interested in that hybrid model, to have a digital club branch and our normal club. How does that work in practice? How do you see it working?
Well, the club may not need to meet that way. As I said before, it's really not what they want. It's what younger men and women want to come in and join. So, I think where we get to is we're assuming that, it's not what the current members want to do. It's how we attract young men and women in to do what they want to do or how they want to serve. So it's about having conversations with the younger members of our community and saying, what model best suits you. It's not about what suits the current club. What suits the current clubs today is working fine. We often hear people say they're too busy to be a Lions member. And I always think, well, if I reflect back when I was their age, we had one car, we couldn't send an email, we had to write a letter. We didn't have some of the conveniences when we were their age that we do now. So I understand what being busy is, but we still serve. The issue is, how can we find a model for younger men and women to serve? And it might be as basic as not being members to start with. It might be, let's reach out to young men and women within our community and say, look, understand that you're too busy, but, we understand that, it might be more of a virtual membership where we call you up when there's a problem. Now, a good example is the Marupna Club. They had a fantastic response from young men and women during the flood, and they've got their names and they can reach out to those people if another natural disaster occurs. So they're in contact with young men and women. They're not putting pressure on them to join the Lions Club, but just through that association, guess what? Some of them might just start to get interested and come along and fit into that mature club, or they might say to that club, or the club might say to them, let's find a model if you're serious about or interested in being about, joining a Lions Club, how it can work for you. So I think, we've got to understand and talk and have dialogue with younger men and women to get them interested in service. They do care. They do care. We know that. They turned up to help, people in need during a flood. And they turn up to help during bushfires and other natural disasters, or if they see someone in need. It's just, how do we engage and embrace them within the Lions family? And as I said, to assume that they will fit into what we're comfortable with, I think is a false assumption. We have to find out what best suits them. And look, there'll be a small group that will fit into a traditional club. I mean, I'm an example of that. I joined Lions from Leo's, and I was in a club of men that served in World War II, and I got wisdom from those guys, and I benefit from that today still. So there'll be some that want to fit into a mature club, but there'll be some that we have to find a model for them to work, within their own space.
Yes, but Graham, there are some advantages to having the club structure, the club that feeds up into the zone and feeds up into the district. It does give you a bit of power when you're trying to organize things.
Oh, absolutely. And all I'm saying is that there might be a glide path into Lions for young men and women, or there might be a different model to start up a different club, a club branch to start with, and you only need 5 people to start a club branch. And they would still function in the same way as a normal Lions or a traditional Lions club, where they would fit into the zone structure and then the district structure, and that they'd be part of the wider team. So absolutely agree. I'm just saying that we've got to think of all our options, attract young men and women into now, perhaps as the occasional volunteer or through a different club that better suits them. A good example is, you might reach out to some mums and dads that, take their kids to sport. Why can't they have a meeting, Lions Club meeting, while the kids are out there practicing cricket, baseball, netball, and do the business of a Lions Club that way? That's a different way, the way we operate and think about today. And they're the sort of things that I think we need to be, considering and talking about and socialising within our communities.
Yeah, no, change is always a painful process. Do you have any advice, wisdom to give those Lions members that are in position of leadership about negotiating these rather choppy waters?
Well, first of all, with all respect, I don't think change is painful. I think it can be uncomfortable, and I think they're two different sensations. And look, I think in Lions we have to get comfortable with the adage that change is a constant in Lions. If we want to be relevant in 10, 20 and 30 years' time and achieve our big audacious mission of having 50,000 members by 2050 across Australia, change has to be constant in our life. We have to think up and adapt to new ways of operating. So I don't think it's painful. I think it can be uncomfortable. And that's why I'm suggesting that we might need that model of having a club branch, because, we've got a lot of fantastic members who have done a great job.
Yes.
And maybe it isn't a case of rocking the boat. It's letting them do the things the way they do, and having that model beside them where we have, younger clubs with a club branch and let them do it. So, there are ways around managing change. And look, there are a lot of clubs that have a very wide age range across their membership base at the moment. So it's not a one size fits all solution. We have to be open-minded around, every club has its differences. Every club thinks slightly different. We have to be really open-minded and not say, this is the way it's going to go. We just have to help and coach and mentor every club.
With your visits going around to the clubs, have you seen examples of some clubs that are doing this really well? And would they be perhaps willing to talk to other clubs?
Well, I talked about the Marupna Club that, when we visited Marupna and we had a conversation and we were talking about their volunteers and, why don't we reach out and talk to them? And the president up there is doing a great job doing that. Our club at Wheelers Hill, we've got a good age demographic. It's all about just reaching out to people. Like last night down at the Moorabbin Club, I went up and spoke to the mayor and said, be great for you to think about joining Lions. He's a young bloke. And he said, all right, I'll give it consideration, and we'll follow that up. The dumb thing is we don't ask. The dumb thing is we don't ask. And look, some of us are uncomfortable in going up and talking to people about Lions and saying, hey, let me tell you about Lions. Let me tell you about the 5 global causes. And our club's a great model. We've got a membership chair that says, look, I get it. You might be uncomfortable going up having that conversation. Just give me the phone number and I'll do that. I'm okay with that. That's within my comfort zone. So maybe clubs have to work through who's going to be the person that makes the approach, that doesn't feel comfortable, that's got the ability to have that conversation and feel comfortable in their own sense, talking to strangers or, people they don't know.
Trying to find service-based projects in the community versus like events and fundraising is actually really quite difficult sometimes. Do you have any advice on how to go out, find those really good service projects?
Well, look, there's a process that I know has been used in our club and other clubs, and that's a community needs assessment. You go out and make yourself known to other groups, schools, other groups working with there, and we take a form out and get them to fill in some details and basically say, how can we as Lions help you within the community? And then that comes back and we review it and we work out our priorities. I think the other thing too is just promoting ourselves. A lot of our clubs thankfully have Facebook pages. The websites today aren't the social media for younger men and women. It's Facebook, it's TikTok, it's Instagram. We need to be in those spaces. We need to be reaching out and letting people know that we're here to help them. And we'll get some feedback that way just by our marketing, our public relations, our outreach through social media, and we'll get some people feeding back. So a combination of community needs assessment, a combination of just making ourselves known. Talk to your local council. We have a pretty good relationship with Monash Council. Go and knock on the door of your local council or shire and say, look, we're here, we're relevant, we're here to help. Pass through any details. That's been happening up in the Seymour area post the floods, where they're working with their council, and the same thing in the Shepherd and Marupna area, where there's a great partnership with local government and Lions Club, so that local government knows that, Lions is there to help. So we have that relationship. So go and knock on doors and make yourself known, and then it will happen. But I want to come back. I mean, service is a huge part of what we do. But I always talk to new members when they're being inducted about Lions is about giving and taking. And I don't think we forget that, we get a benefit of being a Lions as well. We give our time to serve, but we should also be taking that time to learn. And we don't promote that to young men and women. I'm a much better person today because I was a Leo and a Lion when I was young. And I talked about the wisdom that I learnt from an older cohort of members. And now I'm in that boat too, I hope, and I can pass on that wisdom. But we have a fantastic set of learning documents on My Lion. Effective speaking, effective listening, managing conflict, planning and organising. We have a very low percentage take up of our members that actually use that, but they're world class, second to none, I think, and I've enjoyed them and I've benefited from that. And we can offer that to young men and women coming into Lions, and so it's a give and take relationship. Yes. We have the unique, maybe not unique, but close to unique opportunity to say to a young person, we'll develop you as a leader within a Lions Club. You can be a vice president, you can chair some activities. We'll get you on that leadership tightrope. And unlike organisations where when you get up on that tightrope, there's always someone there to try and pull you down. Yes. We'll hold your hand. We'll take you on that leadership journey. And if you fall, we'll catch you and help you back up. Now, we don't promote that enough. And that's something that I don't think, I think that if we did that, we might get some interest from young men and people. We're seeing examples of that in our district at the moment. We've got some young men and women that are doing a great job on our cabinet. And one of them's going to be a president of a club next year, and he can't wait. We've sent four of our members up to the Regional Lions Learnership Institute in Sydney, and they had a great time learning and meeting with other Lions. We forget to tell people that there's the take opportunity as well as the give. And you hear from some great guest speakers as well. I mean, we've had, in my Lions life, we've had the American Consul General at a club. We've had the Chief Scientist of Victoria. We've had some really interesting people. Even last night, we had a gentleman at the 60th anniversary of the Moorabbin Club, an immunologist, talking about all things immunology. And of course, COVID came up. So some really interesting guest speakers. So we give to our two hands to serve. That's the give. But we also take the opportunity to grow as human beings. It's the what's in it for me, that famous FM radio station, WII-FM, that we forget to tell people about when talking about Lions. People want a membership experience that's really exciting at Lions as we mature and we can offer it to young people. And that's that give and take. Serve those in need and grow as a human being at the same time and make lifelong friends. Like there's a convention coming up on the Gold Coast, and I know I'm going to see a lot of friends that I've made over my Lions life. And that's something, again, that we can offer people. And if you relocate and you move into a new area, you always know you're going to find friends there if you're a Lion, because you'll meet the local Lions who've got the same passions to serve as you or I. And we don't promote that enough.
Yes, I mean, I have definitely found it that as soon as I say, oh, I'm from Lions, doors open for me to be able to speak to people that I would never normally be able to speak to. So we do forget the benefit from the Lions Club membership.
Absolutely. But I still think we've got an issue in terms of our brand. I was talking to a gentleman who came here to give me a quote to put some leaf guard on a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I live in the Eltham area and I never miss an opportunity. And I said, well, we've got a club in Eltham. You know what he said to me? Am I old enough to join Lions now?
Oh, no.
And that really rocked me, and it still resonates, and it annoys me that we haven't got that message out yet to young people. Of course you can join Lions. You don't have to be mature to be a Lion, and that's something we've got to turn around. We need to be out there talking about the community. I want people sitting around a table in every one of our 64 clubs in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and 20 years' time saying, thank goodness those guys went to the effort to get me into Lions, because my legacy will be, making sure that the work they've done in the past is remembered into the future as well as my service. 1 in 5 Victorians goes hungry during the year. 1 in 5. A year ago, it was 1 in 6. So Lions is as relevant today as it was a year ago. It's going to be as relevant in 10 years' time and 20 years' time. I wish it wasn't. I wish in 10 years' time there wasn't anybody in the community that was in need, but sadly there will be. We need to be here, because the reality is, if we're not, who is? Who's going to be doing what we do now and serving those in need? And that's the message we have to get out to young men and women, that, we need you to come in and care for your community. And it is about care. Care for your community today, tomorrow, and in 5 and 10 years' time, when we won't be here to do it. And that's the reality. That's why sitting around the table and having these difficult conversations is really important to do now. And that's what I'm asking our clubs to do.
It's just a message that I think people actually, it's been ticking over in a lot of clubs' minds. And so the message comes at a really good time. It's just rethinking how we do things.
Yeah.
It's not that we want to change Lions totally, because we like our Lions Club and we like the members that are there at the moment. It's not like we want to chuck it all out, but we need to renew and change a little bit.
We need to have an environment of continual improvement. Organisations across the world focus on continual improvement. You have to. Otherwise, how are we going to be relevant in 5, 10 years and 20 years' time? The world is changing at such a fast pace. And I don't think I think that level of uncomfortableness diminishes because we're so used to change now. And Australians are adapters. We're adapters. We pick up new technologies. We're world leaders in managing change. So I don't want there to be pain, and I want to reduce the uncomfortableness, but I want people focused on who's going to be sitting around the table in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time. And that's our mission, to serve those in need and to make sure that there are people sitting around our table at our 64 clubs. To just say we give up and we'll just let this club die doesn't pay respect to your current members, and it doesn't pay respect to members of the past who have got you to where you are. Their expectation is that we should be getting the next cohort of Lions to where they need to be to serve the community.
Anything else that you would like to say to the Lions clubs?
Look, I just want to thank every one of our almost 1,200 members across our 64 clubs for their service and their passion. It's been an honour to be district governor this year and to get out there and meet our Lions, from our young Lions to our mature Lions, from our Lions that have just joined to our Lions that have had 60 years plus service. One of the great things about being a Lion is that we're all guided by our purposes and our ethics. And I really respect, that fact that, we work together, that we build and we don't destroy. And, it's just fantastic to see the effort that goes into serving our communities. I was just looking at a website or Facebook site today of one of our clubs handing out sleeping bags to homeless people back in May last year. And, the public doesn't know what we do. We do so much more than, sausage sandwiches, which are important. We don't sell the fact that, we pay fees to serve so that every cent that we get from the public goes to the cause. At our convention in October, Charles Kovess, our keynote speaker, said we were weird. And that was the best thing he ever said. He said, "You guys are weird. Let me get this right. You pay a fee to go and help people in the community. That's really weird." And then he said, "But I understand you pay that fee so that every cent that you get from the public goes to the cause." And he said, "Let me tell you, being weird is awesome." And, and that's what I promote, that I want lots of weird people working within Lions clubs to give up their time to pay for the administration so that we can honestly say that every cent from the public goes to the cause. And I want to thank, as I said, our members across the district for doing an awesome job. They're a great cohort of Lions. We enjoy each other's company across the 64 clubs. I'd love it if we could get more clubs working together, because that helps. We've seen that. If you've got a small club and there's a big task, don't shirk at the task. Ask people to come in, and you will. We're going up to Seymour for the show and shine on Monday to help out. We're on the barbecue for a couple of hours. We love that. We're there catching up with other Lions from other clubs. We're there, with that passion that we all have to serve, and we make new friends. And we've helped out people in the community by raising money that will go back out to that community to do good.
Yes, and I often think that you forget how much, how it sort of attracts the public's attention when you've got this group of people behind the sausage sizzle that are laughing and joking and obviously enjoying themselves doing their service.
Oh, absolutely. But don't forget to say, "Hey, do you know about Lions?" Because every time we're out there is our opportunity to say, "Hey, you look weird. Why don't you join us?" And the moment you say something like that, and I tried that at the Tatura Festival last weekend. "Mate, are you weird?" "Yeah." "Hey, you'd be a great Lion. We're weird too." And you get into a discussion. And when you get that common bond, people listen rather than just say, "I look too busy." So we've got, we've got to continually market ourselves and find a way into a conversation. past council chair Lou Onley talks about his elevator speak, where when you've got literally 30 seconds to get engaged in a conversation about membership. And my conversation about are you being weird is akin to that. You've got 30 seconds to get their interest, otherwise you won't have a chance.
Mm-hmm. And also I think that you need to have those good projects in your club, because you're not trying to attract members in to keep a institution going. I mean, that's not the point. You're trying to get people in so that you can serve the community more effectively. And so having those projects is also really important.
Oh, that's right. Our mantra is we serve where there's a need, there's a lion. And that's our purpose. That's what we're there. And, what we need to do better, and we're doing a good job, but we need to copy and paste good ideas. And that's why it's so important for clubs to get together at the zone level and share what they're doing and to work collaboratively. Just because, I might have a car show on up there doesn't mean that I can't have a car show on down here. And let's learn how, this club who's done the car show managed it. What were the good things? What were the bad things? What was your change? We can do so much better by copying and pasting and sharing and helping each other. So we need to communicate, within our clubs more and more, and share some of the things that we're doing around membership growth. We're a team, and we need to act as a team, not just within a zone, which is important, but across the whole district and the multiple district.
Graham, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I really enjoyed hearing from you. I hope you enjoy the last 6 months as much as you seem to have enjoyed your first 6 months, and I wish you every success.
Thanks, Megan. Great talking with you. And again, to all our Lions, and thank you for serving. Really appreciate what you're doing.
Wasn't that just the most inspirational chat? I really enjoyed talking to Graham this morning, and I hope you enjoy listening to it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Beaumaris Lions Club saying bye.